Welcome back to Remade in California, where we talk everything from the economy to education. Today's half-hour show, we're discussing nutrition and physical health. Here now, I'm with Dr. Sheila Foreman, psychologist and author of The Best Diet Begins in Your Mind. Sheila, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Pat. Happy to be here.
So you've been an attorney, and then you became a psychologist.
That's right.
And now you're taking that psychological part into diet and health.
Well, into mindfulness specifically.
Mindfulness
yes.
overall.
Overall,
okay.
mindful eating in particular, and becoming what we call an MB Eat instructor, mindfulness-based eating awareness trainer.
Okay.
So I'm reinventing myself yet again.
There we go. And we talk a lot about that on the show. How did that all happen? Was it a personal
It was a personal
incident,
choice.
or?
Well, actually, there was an incident. I went out of college and went to law school.
Right.
And after graduating from law school, I became a civil litigation attorney, and that's a trial attorney. And I was not very well suited for that, because I'm one of these can't we all just get along kind of people. And in litigation, the answer is always no. So around that time, my father had a very serious accident. The good news is he's 93, he's still with us, but at the time we almost lost him. And that for me was a pivotal moment, because I was so unhappy being an attorney. I thought there's got to be more. You know, life can go away in a split second. And I'd always been interested in psychology, so I transitioned out of law into psychology, got my doctorate, and then in the course of practicing, I discovered that I had an interest in eating issues, weight management, emotional overeating, and I dedicated about 20 years of my life to helping people overcome emotional overeating. And in the course of that work, I discovered mindfulness-based eating, and have now been trained in mindfulness-based eating, and I'm taking that now to my patients and my clients.
Wow. And I think some people don't think in terms of eating disorders as almost a substance abuse issue.
It is very much like a substance abuse. There's research out there comparing food addiction with cocaine addiction and other addictions, so there's some science behind it.
Yeah.
But my approach is not that it's an addiction, but that it's a set of habits that we developed, much of it mindlessly. And as a consequence, when we can apply mindfulness to our eating habits, we can make the shift we need to manage our weight.
So you're saying weight loss begins as a frame of mind?
It begins as a frame of mind. I'm famous for saying that learning to manage your weight is as much about managing your emotions as it is managing your food.
What is emotional eating?
The way that I use that term, it means to me anytime someone's eating when they're not physically hungry for food.
Okay.
So they're eating for some other reason. So I say if you're not hungry physically, you're hungry emotionally, and that's emotional eating. Depression is one very common reason why people overeat.
Right.
And in the book that you mentioned, I address 8 emotions that I have recognized people eat over the most, and what else you can do.
Right.
You can go to the food as a coping mechanism, or you can choose a healthier approach, and mindfulness is one of those approaches.
So why is food a coping mechanism? I mean, what is it? Just the
Great question. You know why? It works. It works for a bunch of ways.
Just like substances. It works.
It works.
It makes us feel different.
It does. Food is a chemical. We ingest it. It creates biochemical changes in our body, hormonally, neurotransmittically, and we feel better. It works because it's a distraction. You're not thinking about why you're upset. Now you're thinking about the ice cream.
Right.
And it also is a learned response. Many of us grew up being given a lollipop when we skinned our knees, so we learned that when we eat, we feel better. So when you combine the 3 of them, it's a natural process to reach for food when we're uncomfortable, whether we're uncomfortable physically or emotionally.
Yeah, and what can be an emotional trigger for that kind of coping?
It could be anything. It's unique to each person. People have different triggers. One trigger that I hear a lot about is when people go home to their family, what we call family of origin, they go back to visit mom and dad, they go straight to the refrigerator.
Right.
And they open up the refrigerator and they start looking in the refrigerator. Because oftentimes our families can be emotional triggers for us.
Yeah.
But it could be anything, a bad day at work, an unhappy situation, an unpleasant phone call. It changes from person to person.
How does somebody get involved in your mindfulness eating?
There's research out of Indiana State University. It's led by the pioneer in mindfulness-based eating. Her name is Dr. Jean Christeller. She actually has a wonderful book out there called The Joy of Half a Cookie. It's a great book for the lay population to read, to learn about mindfulness.
Where do you put the other half?
You're right. You share that with a friend.
It's in your folks' refrigerator.
There it is. That's why you're looking for it. And in her work, she trains professionals like myself on mindfulness-based eating. And then there are those of us out there now who have been trained in her program that are offering this service of teaching mindful eating.
Because, I mean, there's got to be, I mean, I'm a career reinvention coach, and there's certainly with with obesity and the issues.
That's right.
I mean, this has got to be a growing.
This is a huge
need
growing field, right?
As a public health issue.
It is, and
Yeah.
for those of us who are professionally trained as MBE instructors, that's one way to go. But for the lay population, there's a lot that we can do for mindfulness in terms of eating, even if you don't have the kind of credential that I have.
Right.
Yeah. I noticed Patricia, your previous guest, mentioned mindfulness, because dietitians now are working with mindfulness. Coaches, physical fitness coaches are working with mindfulness.
So walk me through quickly what mindfulness means.
Mindfulness very simply means being aware.
Okay.
So making a conscious choice. So much of what we do is mindless. We eat mindlessly. For example, you go to the movies and you buy a tin of popcorn, and before you know it, your hand's on the bottom. You don't even remember having eaten it because we're mindless. We're distracted.
Okay.
So when we practice mindfulness, we're
distracted these days?
We are. Can you imagine that?
Where's my phone?
There you go. It's probably in the other hand with your donut.
Yeah.
So what we do with mindfulness is we teach ourselves to become more present, to become more aware.
Okay.
And the foundational tool for mindfulness eating is actually mindfulness meditation.
Okay.
And so part of what I teach my clients and my patients is how to practice mindful meditation, which is a skill that then translates into all areas of life. It's a wonderful tool to cope with physical conditions as well as psychological.
Yeah. So Sheila, how does somebody stay positive and motivated when they might not be getting the results they want, like losing weight or being too tired to cook at home? How do you stay motivated?
If mindfulness means being aware, part of it is becoming conscious of what's important to you and making that a priority. So
Right.
Patricia was talking about health. If health is a priority, make your choices mindfully. Is what you're choosing to do with your sleep habits, your eating habits, your stress management habits, is it serving you? Are you being mindful? Are you being aware of the impact that your choices are having on yourself?
And I know we talked a bit about weight loss and you know how that can kind of tend to be maybe a first indication of eating well, but what happens when that isn't enough of a payoff? I mean,
Well,
is that part of what you deal with?
Very much so. In my work with emotional overeating, I always tell my patients weight is the last thing to change.
Okay.
What we're really looking for is a change in lifestyle. Are you feeling better? Do you have more stamina, more energy? Are your moods more stable?
Okay.
That's more important. Eventually the weight comes off, but if you're only chasing the weight loss, that can be very disappointing.
So this is a whole transformation.
It's a
of
transformation.
lifestyle and
Yes.
thinking, and
That's right.
you have to divorce your.
Not necessarily.
No,
Not
I have to tell you
necessarily.
to ship your kids off and
Not
just
necessarily.
become a monk and do all
And
that.
if you do it mindfully.
To learn more about Sheila, mindful eating, and to buy The Best Diet Begins in Your Mind, visit drsheilafurman.com. And for more information on how California's community colleges can help you become remade in California, go to doingwhatmatters.cccco.edu. Up next, Kevin Bailey, health and wellness coach. We talk balancing work, life, and fitness. Don't go away.